Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another glorious Tuesday episode of the Reload Show. I'm Sean. With me today, I got Candido Diaz, Mark Sullivan. Guys, episode 22. They haven't canceled us yet. I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Don't put that into the universe. It's we're still here. It's Woo Sox opening day, the AAA affiliate for the Red Sox, and unlike the Red Sox, they actually try and win every game. So very excited here.
Already beating up on the Red Sox.
Yes.
Well, for those of you tuning in for the first time, we are just three guys in the mortgage world talking about real estate, mortgage, sometimes life and other fun stuff. And we are here to hold each other accountable in our business. And so we're going to get kicked off. If we start every week diving into wins and losses from the prior week, we want to know what's working, what's not working. Guys, who wants to kick us off today?
Well, I'm actually floored that I've never heard of that the minor league team for the Red Sox was the Woo Sox. I'm kind of throwing off my game with that.
They're relatively new, but yeah, I'll forgive you this time.
That's why.
Sure. Right on. Yeah. Anyway, we usually start off the show with wins and losses. Anyway, we're three LOs, really just that get together, hold each other accountable, kind of talk about the market. We talk about referral partners and we talk about generating business. Mainly we're just, like I said, well, I just about repeated myself. So let's not do that.
Anyway, so there's Mark's loss for the week.
Go
ahead.
My loss for the week is the English language, which is usually how that works. But
makes sense because that's why you're learning another language, right, Mark?
Right. Yeah. And honestly, the more I learn Spanish, the less I know English. Is definitely something I'm learning.
That's how it works.
I do believe I just hit day 160 though, so that's a win. I think. I don't know. I'd have to ask my accountability partner over there. But anyway, back to big math. Let's do wins and losses. And my wins, my win and my loss are kind of connected. But I had taken a loan from another loan company that rhymes with Schmetter's United. I won't name names though. And they had the cash to close was like $6,000 more than mine, and the rate was like a point higher than mine. And we are not the lowest rates out there. So it was really shocking that this kind of fell in my lap. It was an easy steal. They were happy throughout the process. We communicated well. It was actually an application that I had taken 4 years ago. And the loss comes in that I just copied over his application. Asked some important things like income and work histories and things like that. Got the loan approved as a down payment assistance loan. Got it all the way to about 6 hours until closing time, when title says you have him as single. We have him as married. That's a real bad, if you know anything about down payment assistance program, that's a real scary thing. And honestly, that was 100% my fault for not asking that question. Usually we take an app, we take the full app. All of that happens. I just copied it over. I actually know his wife, just didn't know they were married, different last names. And never even crossed my mind. But through the swift acting of my company, which I can always count on, like there's pros and cons of every company. Mine moves fast when we have to move fast. We took her income documentation, because you got to have that for DPA. We took from the time I asked her for her tax returns to the time we were clear to close again and at the closing table was a matter of about an hour and a half. And
very nice.
We missed our closing time by about an hour, which was super impressive. At the end of the day, what won was the fact that I kept them posted throughout the entire time. So whenever something came up in the end, they trusted and believed in me that it wasn't something that I knew about prior to that moment. So and at the end of the day, they won. I won. Um, Threaderins United lost, and we're all we're all for the better. But definitely been focusing more on communications, and that loss was certainly just an attention to detail loss. I didn't think to ask it, and I should have. So if you're copying old files, though, let's make sure we ask every question.
Well, I'm going to jump in because my loss is right along that same theme, Mark. So my loss. So I'm extremely thorough with pre-approvals for my clients, and I will not give a pre-approval letter out until I have all critical documents. I'm not talking the ancillary stuff that aren't going to make or break a file, but I'm talking about the critical documents that make sure that I know that this loan is good. And so one of my recent losses is I got feedback from a real estate agent that they felt like the turn time on getting a particular client pre-approved was quite slow. And I went back and I went through the client's scenario, and I kind of revisited all of the steps in the process, getting them pre-approved. And ultimately, where I failed was not so much in the pre-approval process, but was keeping the agent fully in the loop throughout the pre-approval process for this particular client, because it was not your standard, hey, they apply, I get documents within 24 to 48 hours, and I have them pre-approved within the same 24 to 48 hours. In this particular instance, it took them a while to get documents. They had to dig up a few critical key things, and it probably took the better part of a week. And my failure was not updating the agent throughout. I sent them an initial, communication, letting them know, hey, I've got them initially qualified, but I need documents to really know if they're pre-approved. And I didn't update them again until I had them pre-approved. And so this particular agent felt like that was a really long time, not understanding the client had to dig up additional documentation that they didn't have immediate access to. And so I could have communicated throughout that process better. That way the agent knew exactly what was going on, or I could have enlisted the agent's assistance in helping motivate the client to get the documentation a little bit faster. So that was my big loss since last week. My big win was I held a lead generation webinar last week for real estate agents. And it was, unlocking modern lead generation. I went over 5 key strategies for real estate agents in today's real estate market. And it was a really good success. Got a lot of great feedback from the real estate agents. But what I'm most excited about is now I get to take that hour-long training, and I get to go chop it up into probably 30 other pieces of content. And now I have a significant amount of content to put out into social and in email blast probably for the next several months, which is fantastic. I can chop it into 5 videos covering each lead generation strategy. I can do teaser reels that I can put out there or put into email blasts. It's an opportunity to get agents excited about joining my private Facebook group, all from this one piece of training content that I did. So that was a huge win, not only the event itself, the webinar itself, but just what I'm able to do with that afterwards. So really excited about that. Candido, how about you, bud?
I just sat on my hands. No, so a couple things for me. So me, Captain Positivity over here. So I'm going to start with my loss, and I was at a networking event. All hunky dory, doing the damn networking thing. Got a call from my processor, ignored the call because I was at a bar. And got a series of text messages explaining how basically the loan that I thought was pretty much clear to close, all of a sudden we had some issues with income documentation. I think with what we do, confidence is a huge factor every single day. And every single day, I would say, you know, I try to start each day with a positive mindset, but sometimes it doesn't end that way. So the nice thing is, you know, I think I ended up leaving that networking event because I was so concerned. Obviously, wanted to make sure that we took care of everything. In the end, you know, I think I need to be a little bit more confident in my own self, in my own work that I put up front. Just had to provide an additional document. We're good to go, clear to close, closing tomorrow. Everything is good now, but you know, I think every now and again we can struggle with our confidence, and I'm no different. So yeah, that was definitely my negative, and kind of turned it into a positive a little bit. I'll give you another quick positive, that probably something only I will care about. So I'm very intentional with my social media. If you watch anything that we do, I bring that up quite a bit. In what I thought was kind of a throwaway story, I copied, or I took a picture of Elvis Crespo and matched one of his songs. Who is Elvis Crespo? Well, I thought you'd never ask. Suavemente. If you don't know what it is, type it in. It'll get your mood 1000% positive. But you know, he ended up going ahead and sharing that story to his 700,000 followers, and I was through the roof. You know, 99% of the time, I'm doing things for other people, being intentional about social and everything. Not gonna lie, that one was for me. I was super excited, and if you're not, that's okay. But yeah, I was a little fanboy. That's it. That's my positive, my real positive story. I thought it was really cool. Yeah,
I dig it,
that's what I
man.
got.
I dig it. You know, I didn't know who Elvis Crespo was until you brought him up. So
Yeah,
thank
you
you
know,
for
you
that.
know.
That. All right, gang, exciting show today. So guys, we're talking about you know, our show today is titled "Setting the Table," and really what we're talking about is preparation. We're talking about, you know, the key pieces at the onset of our process that sets us up for success throughout the entire transaction, the entire process, both with buyers, real estate agents. And I believe that what we do at the beginning has the ability to circumvent a lot of potential pitfalls throughout the process, whether it be pitfalls of just a loan going awry, or whether it be losing a deal to a competitor, or losing a real estate agent because the process didn't go as well as they were expecting it to, and they go somewhere else. So I think this is a critical part of our jobs as loan officers. Mark, why don't you kind of kick us off talking about, you know, a little bit of your process and what you do at the beginning of, you know, maybe a client interaction or a real estate interaction to set yourself up for success the rest of the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. And it definitely it was a good example of my loss today, where the large amount of communication that I had throughout the entire process definitely saved my speed bump. It definitely saved my review, right? They were still very happy in the end, even though we had to rush real quick and get something accomplished because of the communication. If they were already frustrated and not really sure what to expect next, that news would have been taken very poorly. And I think that's really the number one thing that I always try to express about communication. When everything's going great, communication is cool. When things start to go south, communication is everything. And it's too late at that point to start communicating, right? It's too late to save that, to right that ship. When I first take an application, I like to do the whole rapport building thing. We don't just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I ask them about their goals. I ask them about, why now. I get them to either disagree or agree with my viewpoints before I share them with them. So I know the person that I'm dealing with, right? I know the person that I'm interacting with. They can disagree with my viewpoints. I'll just share them differently, right? But I take a full application. We have a process where we fully underwrite the borrower, and we put a $5,000 guarantee on our pre-approvals, right? And that can differ from other banks who have the LO look it over, give out a pre-qual, or not even do that. Sometimes credit's not even pulled, depending on the bank that you're looking at or the bank that you're working with. So the process from the time you take an application is completely different from bank to bank, from lender to lender. We're not the same. So I need their buy-in to go further with them, right? If they're looking for just, hey, I'm going to shop around with 10 lenders and I'm just looking for a pre-qual, cool. That's exactly what you're going to get, but you're going to get that explanation. I'm going to explain to you what we can do and then what we would do depending on, and I let them choose. No, I'd rather get the full pre-approval. Okay, cool. This is what we need. I communicate with them. I get the stuff from them. I communicate with the referral partner, whoever it may be, whether it be a real estate agent or it be an attorney or a financial advisor, whatever that might be. I say, hey, I took their app. It's probably going to take a couple of days to get that pre-approval because we want to go a little bit further, and it's going to take them a few days to get these documents together for us. Setting the expectation properly. I don't get a phone call the next day going, where's my pre-approval, from the referral partner, from the real estate agent, because they already know it's Monday. It's probably going to take until, Wednesday or Thursday, but we'll get that turned around. Right. Or we'll get that pre-approval turned around. I really want an underwriter to look at this. It's going to take until at least Friday. How soon do you want to get out there looking? Right. And it's having that conversation, because the agent might say, oh, they're out of town. Or I'm out of town. We're not going to be looking for like another 2 weeks. Let's get this thing wrapped up and as solid as we can. Or that agent might say, hey, they're wanting to look at a house tonight, and we really need something that says that we can buy this house if they love it. Those are two separate situations, and your client is unlikely to tell you those things, right? The client is just, one, they may be nervous. They're talking to a bank. They're trying to get pre-approved. They don't want to be pushy. Whereas the agent or the referral partner would know, hey, we need this now. This needs to happen ASAP. And then I can figure out, is it really ASAP, or does the agent just want to be salesy and get that information right now? So it's all about that communication from the very get. And then you say, hey, I'm going to update you every single Thursday throughout the process. I'm going to call you whether you're under contract or not. Because once you make an application, you're my client, and you're my client, hopefully for life, but at the very minimum until we get this deal done. Right. So I'm going to call you every single Thursday, and we're going to go over what your plans are for the coming week until we talk again. And hopefully that is a contract. But if it's not, it's really just, what are we looking for? Yada, yada, yada. So every single Thursday, they expect a call from me. The downside is you got to make that call, right? Like Thursday, I got to make that call, whether it's 6 o'clock at night or whatever, or at least a text. If things got real crazy, hey, I know I haven't called you yet. Yada, yada, yada. Let's touch base. Let's figure this out when we're going to get this call scheduled, because Friday comes around and people call. They're like, hey, you said you were going to call me every Thursday, or you've called me every Thursday for the last 2 weeks. You didn't call me today. What's wrong? What's up? So I think that's the long story short of just making sure that you're communicating and you're setting that expectation. I think I'll leave it with, I always compare it to other industries, right? Nobody has a whole lot of experience with getting a mortgage, right? Getting a loan, right? If you've bought or sold a home twice in the last 7 or 8 years, you've done it more than most, and that hardly makes you an expert, right? But everybody goes out to eat. And what's the difference between good service and bad service? Is taking the drink order, saying, hey, I'll be right back with your drinks, and then I'll take your order, right? And then they take the order and say, hey, I'll be right back with your salads and your butternut squash soup. and I'll get those out to the table so that you can enjoy them while they're cooking your meal. Right. And then you bring out the meal. Hey, I'll be right back with some refills. You're telling them exactly what you're doing every single step of the way. So I don't have to go, oh man, I wonder if they know that my iced tea is low. It's that expectation, because if I don't know that, I just sit there and stew and get angry that I've got this food and no tea. Right. And your clients feel the same way about mortgages.
Makes me think that you were a server in your younger years, Mark.
I had done just about every hospitality job.
Wait, you weren't a server. You were a culinary advisor.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Absolutely.
Candido, man, what does your process look like? How do you avoid pitfalls and speed bumps in your process by dressing things up front? What does that look like for you?
First of all, I get a Celsius and not a tea. So
the best flavor, by the way.
Absolutely. So,
I like my body and my health.
Good. So what it looks like for me, without kind of going through all the same things, I want to make sure that I go through someone's goals, desires, and expectations, right? I think what COVID did for us, especially, is it made us more order takers, and it made loan officers just rely on the application to help decide whether you're worth my time or not, right? If it, and that's something that I think we need to go back on. It's about setting expectations, like Mark was saying. You want to make sure that you build enough rapport so that way they're not just going to go ahead and shop you. So what does that look like? Well, you need to make sure that you set some time aside, especially for that initial conversation. That initial conversation, if you want it to be 2 minutes, great, but it should only be 2 minutes to set up that real call that might take 15, 20, 30 minutes, however long your process takes. But this is to go ahead and help finance and help set up one of the most important and most expensive transactions that someone has ever gone through. And I think what loan officers really forgot, people in our industry truly forgot that process, right? So I would implore everyone, don't just be order takers. I actually wrote down a quote from this book that I'm reading. Shout out Kyle Draper. If you are good enough, I will spend time with you. If not, I won't. And obviously that's referring to the fact that, loan officers were order takers. So want to make sure that you're showing value, and you could kind of incorporate some of these same things for when you're working with a new agent, right? I personally, it's something that you want to try and build a relationship. So for me, I always like to joke, and there's a fine line because I want to make sure that people know that I can be serious and I want them to take me seriously, but I always say, hey, I am available on nights and weekends. Just know you might hear the latest Kids Bop or Disney Princess songs in the background. Usually, as soon as I do that, I will pause, and about 9 times out of 10, I'll get a snicker. One time I was telling Sean beforehand, some guy was just like, "Ugh, kids." Well, I'm like, "Yeah, right. Yeah, whatever. I'll call you right back." It just, it's setting the table. You set the expectations. I'm able to kind of gauge what someone's personality is like with a comment like that. But I just wanted to make sure that I really made the point of we have to go back to being personable, creating the relationships. Otherwise, what's going to separate you from just another lender down the street? Right? We have plenty of online lenders. If people didn't want to talk to you, trust me, there's ways they can go ahead and do that. Push button, get mortgage. So that's kind of the point that I wanted to make today. How about you, Sean?
push button, end up in outer space is usually what I say.
I mean,
so,
well,
but
Wait,
and
can you do that?
I agree with you, man. I really like the last few points that you made there, because the industry got real comfortable with being order takers. A lot of new loan officers came into the business, and real estate agents came into the business, and it was really easy to be an order taker. And so going back in the last 18 months has really caused a shift to where we've got to go back to being advisors. And so for me, the ability to avoid clients going somewhere else, or speed bumps, or pitfalls, or errors, starts with a really solid structured discovery call, or like a client consultation, a buyer consultation. And so my discovery calls, like you, Candido, I use those as opportunities to uncover goals, plans, hopes, wishes, desires, what they're looking for out of the result. It's also a phenomenal opportunity to understand pain points and questions and anxieties. We do this every day, and it's second nature for us. We've got to remember, most people that we work with don't do this every day. And so this may be stressful for them. They may have nerves going into this. I had a discovery call with a client the other day, and it was their first time buying and selling a home at the same time. And I was like, wow, that's, you got to have some nerves. It's got to be, a little bit of anxiety associated with that. She's like, oh yeah, definitely, never done this before. How does the timing work? So understanding those pain points, anxieties, and questions, so that way we can advise, we can answer, we can address concerns to build more confidence. And I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. It's also an opportunity for me to explain my process. I'm helping them buy their house, but they're using my process to do it. And so I do this every day. I have to have a well-oiled machine of a process that results in them accomplishing their goals. So they're using my process. And so my discovery call is an opportunity for me to help them understand what that process looks like. And it also provides an opportunity for me to gain commitment from them to use me, or to understand if they have any concerns, as we wrap up the call. Like, as an example, one of my favorite questions to ask as we wrap up the discovery call is, not on the discovery call, but one of my favorite questions to ask is to recap everything we've talked about. And I might ask them, we've touched on this, I've answered these questions. Do you have any reservations with moving forward with me as your lender? And it allows me to understand if there's any concerns or hesitation. If they're shopping, they're going to bring it up. If I haven't given them everything that they're looking for out of the conversation, they're likely to bring it up in that position. So it's a really great opportunity to gain commitment as well. I also love the idea of setting micro commitments. And so guys, so for me, micro commitments are little expectations that I set at every little interval I can, because whenever we, if you make a promise to a spouse or to a child, to your kid, Candido, if you promise your kids you're going to be there for their school play and you show up, do your kids have more faith in you as dad?
I mean, yeah, I get yelled at no matter what. So
fair enough. Well, my point being is, the more often that we meet and exceed expectations, we meet the commitments that we set, the more trust that we're building. So I look at that and say, why not set as many commitments and expectations as possible throughout the process? And I call those micro commitments. So setting micro commitments about exactly how things are going to go. And then as those things happen exactly as I said they would, then that's constantly building trust with clients. So I love that initial discovery call to help set micro commitments about that process, puts them at ease. And, as an example, I might tell a client, before we submit them to processing, hey, I've got everything all set. And I'm going to be moving your loan into my processing team here in the next 48 hours. Expect an email from my processing team introducing themselves and asking you for a few ancillary items so that way we can have you ready to go to underwriting. Well, guess what? Within 48 hours, they get that email from my processing team, and it happened exactly as I said it was going to happen. And so that's just a little extra trust that I'm building, and they feel more confident that everything I say is going to come to fruition. So that's how I approach the initial steps in the client conversation. And kind of as I talked about my loss today, going forward, I'm adding additional agent conversation, agent communication to help set the table even better for the process with the agent that the client's working with, make sure that they're in the loop more frequently. So that way, less questions, better experience for them as well. And that's where I think we can win or lose deals by uncovering and overcoming objections and concerns at the very, very forefront, instead of, oh, this client went under contract and then all of a sudden they're shopping me now, or they went under contract and now they're doing something else. So
and I think the best part about what we do, if your process sucks, guess what? You get a chance to redo it, not redo it, but start over with a new client, right? A new realtor, whatever. So if you need to tweak it, we have opportunities to go ahead and do that. So if your process needs some change, maybe take some of the things that we said today and implement it. Try it with the next 1, 2, 3 people that you speak with. I think that's really important. It's, nothing is ever perfect. We can always go ahead and change it a little bit to see what works better or what actually works worse. So, I think you can't always have something set in stone. It's going to change for every single person. But if something isn't working, go ahead, just change it with the next person you start with.
Yeah, I think I think the point you're trying to drive home is learning from your mistakes, right? It's just like a lot of that communication is, hey, this is what I messed up this time, and this is what I can do better. And I think a good segue of that is one of the most, I'd say the second most important part of communicating is after you're done with the process, communicating with everybody that you interacted with and ask them how you did. Ask them how you did. Don't ask them. Ask for the review before right at the clear to close. But afterwards, after they've moved in, the process is over. They don't feel like they owe you anything, right? It is what it is. Let's say 2 weeks in, or you call them saying, "Hey, your first payment call." That's a great time to do it. And you say, "Hey, just so that I can improve, is there anything throughout the process that you were disappointed with or didn't live up to your expectations?" You want to lead it that way, because if you just say, "How'd I do?" most people are like, "You did great, whatever," But if you lead it asking for pain points, they're going to immediately think of pain points. They're going to give them to you. Whether you implement any, you might look at that and go, "Well, there's really not a whole lot I could have done about that," or "I don't feel like I'm going to change that just because one person didn't like it." You can make that decision on the fly, maybe make a note of it. Because if 5 people say that, maybe you're wrong. Right.
Well, to your point, Mark, though, is you don't know if you need to make that change unless you ask that question.
Right.
Right. Exactly. You don't know. That's not even a decision that you have to make if you don't have that information. I like that.
That's very true. That is accurate.
I'm gonna do my final thought on. I'm gonna leave everybody with this quote. It's one of my newer favorite quotes. Amateurs practice until they get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. So let's be professionals in our business and with our processes, and let's hone those skills, hone those processes to where we nail it every single time. Guys, always love being here with you guys. Another phenomenal show, episode 22, going in the history books, setting the table. I love it.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Take care, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for tuning in, checking us out on Next Level YouTube page and the Reload Show YouTube page. Until next week, go out there and crush it. Thanks so much, everyone.
See you next time.